Meeting to order at 6:24 p.m. If we could have someone from the staff call the roll.
Howard Nelson,
Evans Nelson.
Here.
Blaze McGinley,
Here.
Chadwick Maxey,
Here.
Douglas Mead, Howard Elfman,
Here.
Robert Wolf,
Present.
Bill Kent, Fred Stressoff.
Here.
Thank you.
Do we have a quorum?
Yes.
We do have a quorum.
All righty.
You want to pledge of allegiance?
Please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. All righty. I'd like the board members to introduce themselves, starting with Fred Stressoff.
Fred Stressoff, alternate landscape architect.
Hi, Fred.
Hi, Fred.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Bob Wolf. I'm a Sharknado fan, so I enjoy the weather and work in the day for the deputy as a Broward County property appraiser.
My name is Howard Nelson. I'm a land use and environmental attorney.
Blaze McGinley, local architect.
Howard Elfman, real estate broker.
Chad Maxey, developer, and been part of the board for 5 years.
Mohammed, would you like to introduce city staff?
Hello, staff.
Yes, good afternoon, Board. We have from City Attorney's Office of Esteem. Can you introduce yourself?
Ronald Montoya Hassan with the City Attorney's Office.
Yeah. Muhammad Malik, and on to my right is James Hollingworth. And Shakila is there. She's fulfilling the duty of the
Recording
recording secretary today.
That's all
Thank you,
done,
Shakila. And we have Jasmine on the back. So
Awesome.
that's what we have.
Thank you. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes?
Chairman, I would move for approval of the March 7th, 2023 minutes.
I'd like to take a verbal roll call, or a verbal, what's the word I'm looking for?
Just an up and down.
Up and down, thank you very much.
All
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Please show unanimous approval.
Thanks. It's shaking me up, man. All righty. So all persons who wish to speak to the board today must be sworn in. Can you raise your right hand and stand to be sworn in? I think that's usually the Shaquilla.
I can do it.
Okay.
I did it last time, but atypical for me, but do you swear or affirm today to give testimony, truthful testimony to the best of your ability? Yes. Thank you. You may be seated and please silence all electronic devices.
Thank you. Please put all your phones on silent as I do my own here. Alrighty, each member of the public that wishes to speak on any item will have a length of time not to exceed 3 minutes per item. Representatives of associations will have 5 minutes. Alrighty, do we want to see if
Mr.
everyone's
Chairman,
here?
I would move to reorder the agenda to take item 4 first, so that this young lady can get home out of the rain.
Does anyone have an objection to that?
Chair, any disclosures?
Sorry?
Disclosures?
Oh, well, yeah. I'll call it first though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd like to call case number PLN BOA 230.
I think it's case number 3. It's not
Like I said, I'd like to move to reorder the agenda to take case number 3.
3? Okay.
Keep me on my toes. That's fine. All right. So
What case number are you, sir?
It's for the distance measurement, right? Yeah, it's 845 North Federal Highway? Correct. Yes, case number 3. Okay. 3.
3.
Yeah.
all righty. So I would like to call case number PLN BOA 230300001. I'd like to ask each of the members for disclosures, starting with Fred Stressa.
Site visit?
So, Mr. Chair, just for a point of order, since Mr. Stressow is an alternate, and since there is a quorum, he would not be participating as a board member. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, 5.
But 6 would be a full quorum though, right? Versus
sorry?
5?
We still have a quorum.
Well, quorum is 5.
Oh, okay.
So as an alternate,
And you
he can,
normally have 7 members, so why would you proceed with 5 when there's at least 6?
because if the minimum quorum is made, then an alternate member is just an alternate unless there's a conflict, in which case you would step in for that
That's fine.
member with the,
I
that
just
would
think
have.
that each one of the applicants then are gonna ask for an opportunity to extend it to next month, because why would they do it with 5 members?
5 members is the quorum, then that's the.
I understand, and they
right.
have to have all 5 votes in order to get a variance, which I'm sure Blaze will explain.
All right.
The attorney's call.
But wouldn't we need to let the candidates know that?
Yeah.
That a 5
First of all,
would
it doesn't
require-
need to be unanimous, it would be 4 to 1. That would be, with the minimum passage, obviously, anything below that, it would, the motion would fail. So it does not need to be unanimous.
Okay.
Right.
It'd still be 4 to 2 if there was 6.
How can that be
No, it would be
supermajority?
6,
Supermajority
4 would be
plus-
5 to 1.
5 to 1.
If it was 6.
That's right.
The quorum is 5, the 4 of,
4 to 1.
right.
If the quorum, if the board members sitting are 6 board members, you would need 5 affirmative votes.
Right, you don't seat an alternate member if there's a quorum present, and there is a quorum
I
present.
was about to say, I'll take the call of the city attorney.
And that, we discussed that today at our agenda meeting, and the city attorney gave me those directions.
Thank you. Well, then, in that case, I'd like to start.
That being said, and I'm sorry, I apologize, Mr. Stressow is welcome to comment as a member of the public. He can't participate as a member,
Board member.
Once the public comment has closed. And then if the matter came back to the board, he would have to recuse himself. But you can speak as a member of the public on the item.
And if you do that, then you have to cross anything you say.
Like any other member of the public in a quasi-judicial
But
hearing.
not as a member of the board.
True.
Yeah.
So,
Call the item.
yeah, no, actually, I'd like to finish with disclosures. I'll start down here with Chad Maxey.
Chad Maxey, none.
Howard Elfman, none.
Blaise McGinley, none.
Howard Nelson, none.
Bob Wolf, none.
All right, so is for the agenda item number 3, is the applicant present? Yes. Well,
845 North Federal Highway.
845 North.
Didical, Mike Didical? Coming up to the podium?
Yeah.
Can you state your name and address for the record?
Sure. My name is Lascelles Gonzalez on behalf of the adjustment, and the address for the place is 845 North Federal Highway, Fort Lauderdale, Florida 33304.
Thank you. You'll have 15 minutes to, sorry?
Figure out what his relationship is to the agent.
I'm sorry, are you not the agent?
The agent is the owner of the building. I am the leaseor of the building. I lease the building from the agent.
Is that an issue?
Sir, do you have power of attorney to speak here on behalf? You do?
Yeah.
Did you provide that to staff?
Yeah, I provide all the document. Lascelles Gonzalez is the name.
So I think we have, Mr. Chair, I think we have a little bit of a wrinkle because I'm advised by staff that what was provided was that Mr. Didical could speak, but not this gentleman.
We have a copy of that?
I don't know, yeah, can I see the copy?
Yeah, but but somebody needs to make a
Somebody
presentation.
needs to make the application.
Right?
Can I have a point of information? As a newbie, just to follow what's going on, if the applicant is the owner and he's not here, they have to physically designate somebody in writing to the board? Is that what goes on?
And that would already have been done.
Oh,
So
okay.
to put them as an applicant, they would have had to have turned in. a form.
Okay.
The issue is that
This?
he's not the applicant.
Oh, okay.
Nor does he have a power of attorney from the applicant.
Exactly. He would need to have that form.
The power of attorney.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm still learning, so.
Do we want to skip to another one before, while they figure that out?
Sir, do we know if Mr. Didicol is coming and he's just held up by the rain or what?
Yeah, no, he's not coming.
What is the case number?
We could defer.
Can they defer if he's,
Yeah.
if
We
the
don't have an
paperwork's not,
applicant here, we could defer
so
it.
nothing's for harm?
We choose to defer it because he can't make
Right,
a
yeah.
request.
Well, I think that's fair. I mean, that's the only fair thing we can do if they don't have their paperwork.
Did he plan to come today?
No, we didn't know that he had to come. I mean, we filled out all the stuff and turned it in, but we didn't know that he had to be present.
Gotcha.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to defer this item
Well,
to
I want to
next
confirm that
month's
he
agenda.
doesn't have the power.
No,
We are just looking at it.
Yeah,
Okay.
just want to double, triple check, but it doesn't.
Give him a chance.
Pardon me,
before
it
we
doesn't
defer.
appear that there is
Yeah,
a
it's too important of an
proper
issue.
power of attorney. Yeah, if you could just give us a minute.
While we have a minute, so we've got your number 4?
Number 3. I'm number 3 on the list.
Oh, what's your address?
2420 Sea Island Drive.
Now you're number 2.
It got changed. The numbers are here.
What number? 4?
So unfortunately, Mr. Chair, we have reviewed the file, and it does not appear that the gentleman present has a proper power of attorney to appear before the board, unfortunately.
So,
So, Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to table this item until the next agenda where we can either get the applicant or a corrected power of attorney.
Second.
Sorry, sir.
Okay.
You can just talk with staff or email with them, and they can tell you what document you need, and then you could come back as long as you have the proper documentation and speak to the board.
can I get an up and down vote from the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion
Thank you.
tabling passes. And that was number 3.
Sorry, young lady, we couldn't give you something more exciting for tonight.
All right. I'd like to call the agenda item number 1. That would be case PLN BOA 230200002. I'd like to ask for disclosures, starting down with Maxie.
Chad Maxey, none.
Howard Elfman, none.
Blaze McGinley, none.
Howard Nelson, none.
Bob Wolf, none.
All righty. Is the applicant present? If you'd like to come up to the podium.
Do we want to take a 30-second break while our recording secretary gets settled?
Absolutely. We don't have to move on that, do we? We just take
No.
it.
Glad you made it here safe.
Oh, no, I drove around the parking lot for 10 minutes.
And Mr. Chair, while our recording
Where is it?
secretary is getting settled, ma'am,
Greg?
I don't believe you were sworn in earlier. Were you here when we swore everyone in?
No, she was not.
If you could, while the court is setting up, if you could raise your right hand?
Yes.
Do you swear to tell the truth, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth at today's proceedings?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, thank you.
I do.
Truth. I would have done it. I would have said that.
Yes, everything is going.
And nothing but the
Today's-
truth. We'll get there.
I'll be giving swimming lessons to get back out to our cars later.
I can't believe it's still raining. That's what's killing me.
No, there's still a heavy cell coming this way. Mm-hmm.
I was about to say, you're going to drop us all off.
Yes. What? Get one of Coach Nelson's kids to come out and give us all swimming lessons. By the way, Fred, that's how you can tell who grew up in Fort Lauderdale. Coach Nelson, who's that?
The applicant is ready to make her presentation
Case
on
number one.
case number 1. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All righty. I apologize for the delay.
No, it's okay.
Feel free to make your presentation.
It's okay, don't worry. So, I start?
Please start.
Okay, this is, okay, hello, first of all, good evening. And
I'm sorry, your name and address for the record.
thank you so much for giving us this time. So we are coming because we are asking.
Ma'am,
for
can-
a-
Ma'am, if you could please put your name and address into the record.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. The restaurant, the name of our restaurant is Bariloche Gourmet INC. Here is the owner of the restaurant, Mr. Juan Manuel de Luto. And
your name?
my name is Andrea Rodera.
And did she give the address of the restaurant? Or for her?
2915 East
Oh.
Las Olas.
There you go.
It's Las Olas Boulevard.
Just for the record, so we can have it
Okay,
in the record.
yes. Okay.
Now, again, I apologize. You can start.
No,
Mr. Chair, and again, I apologize, but,
For my apology.
no, I apologize for interrupting again because I'm not sure if she has the authority to speak. I
It's
believe,
Mr. de Luto.
yes. Is that, yeah, yes, I believe.
I can
you-
speak.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Ma'am, are you an attorney?
No.
Oh, okay, yeah, so yeah.
As
I'm
long as
sorry.
he's here, he can appoint anybody he wants to in person to speak for him.
First of all,
He's the applicant listed, I believe.
You are Juan Manuel?
yeah, my name is Juan de Luto. And first of all, English is my second language. I'm so sorry.
the
I've been
agent
speaking
of
bad English
the
for
owner.
25 years.
It'll be fine.
And I have a kid of 9 years old that he said to his kids on the school that I don't speak English, definitely.
I barely do myself, sir, so
My little
we're in the
kids.
same boat.
It should be fine.
I'm
Do
so
you-
sorry about it. But
Do you feel able to give the presentation? Do you?
yeah, of course.
Okay, then-
I will do my best. Just
By all means,
I'm a
please.
musician. I play drums, bass at the same time, and we're gonna play at the place. And I've been playing for 5 years in the country music band. For a long time ago, First Strike band. I played drums at that band. Country music was awesome. I learned a lot.
he knows 3
American
languages.
people.
Perfect. Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm
Get
so glad
started.
to be here in this country, first of all. And we are asking. I start to speak what we need.
Yep,
All
please.
right. We are asking for the special request to reduce the alcohol beverage distance requirement, 300 feet. We are 288 feet from a liquor store and 80 feet from another restaurant with an alcohol license. We are asking for a 2 COP license, if it's that possible to this board.
I understand. Does the board have any questions?
I've got a couple of questions, Mr. Chairman. Sir or ma'am, either one.
Yep.
This is a restaurant now, correct, not a standalone bar?
Exactly. It's a restaurant with tables.
Exactly.
A restaurant with table. Will the bar portion of the business stay open after the kitchen closes?
I don't think so, because we just sell pizza, and many people says, if you don't have beer, we go any other place, we sell Italian pizza.
It's just a beer and wine license, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's not a full liquor license.
No.
Mr. Chairman, I've got no more questions, and when you're ready, I'm ready with the motion.
Well, I want to make sure that there's no one from the
In
public
the
who'd like to
audience?
speak. I just wanted to say it. And make sure the board doesn't have any other questions? No?
My only question is license.
Right.
License,
Perfect.
beer and wine license.
Alrighty then, I
Close the
guess
public
Yes,
hearing.
sir.
I will close the public hearing. I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would move for the granting of a special exception for liquor establishment spacing because it meets the community standards of that neighborhood.
I second.
Alrighty, please call the roll.
Mr. Maxey?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Stressall? Oh, they're not using him? Okay.
He's
Mr.
in
Wolf?
timeout.
That hurt.
Mr.
That
Elfman?
hurt.
Yes.
And Chair McGinley?
And
Oh, yes.
Passed 5 to 0.
you didn't call my name. Wolf.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
I need to get a hearing aid. All right, motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. All of you are invited to Bariloche.
We would love to come, but we can't take that as an invitation.
All right.
Board vote.
Thank you so much for everything.
But
What?
thank
I
you.
have no idea.
Thank you very much. Do you have a question?
I'm gonna find out.
Sorry, I just have one more question. We have the alcohol application, obviously. We have to go back to the city to make it sign, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
Correct.
Like in
And
Toronto.
it's going to take a few, I'm warning you in advance, it's going to take a few days because they won't process it until this guy over here signs the order we just voted on, which
Oh.
will take a few days.
Okay, okay.
The
Thank you so
process.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All righty.
This guy.
To this guy. Alrighty, I'd like to call the next case. Yeah, that would be case, agenda item number 2, PLN BOA 230200003. I'd like to start with disclosures down on my left. Maxey?
Chad Maxey, none.
Howard Elfman, none.
Blaise McGinley, none.
Howard Nelson, none.
Bob Wolf, none.
All righty. So are you Mr. Jorge A.
Hoyos?
Hoyos?
That's me. Jorge
Perfect.
Andres Hoyos.
All righty. You have 15 minutes to make your presentation.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Good evening. I'm here to request an exemption for the placement of a gate, a rolling gate on the 2414 Sea Island Drive. This is a single-family home that we are planning. I know that you guys have the attachments. This is the front of the house. So we are requesting the variance because the code said that we have to be 3 feet from the property line to the street. And unfortunately, we don't have that because we have these existing walls surrounding the garden. So our proposal is to be 1 foot 6 inches from the line to be able to slide the gate in between the existing wall and these palm trees that are already planted. So we can actually create the footing, put the gate, make the rolling gate go behind this existing wall, and be able to provide the reason that we want to do this is to provide security to the house because it has breaking in twice already in the last couple months. So that's why the owners are requesting this variance to give a little more security to their home.
Makes sense. Does the board have any questions for the applicant?
I have a question.
Mr. Elfman?
Sir, if I could just ask, when you put in the gate, what's going to be the distance between where the gate sits and the street?
And the street, let me see if I have a drawing with that dimension.
And if I'm reading it properly, he's putting it here, right?
I don't see the exact dimension. We have from the front, the property line to the street.
This is 25.
I don't have that dimension, but I assume that is the regular dimension from the old street, which is almost 10 feet, plus the 1.6 to the asphalt road, correct?
Yes,
Yes. I don't have an exact dimension.
but approximate.
Approximately, I think it's gonna be 11 feet, 6 inches.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Wolf?
Are there any objections from the neighbors or the
No,
homeowners?
we submit all the letters that were requested, and we don't have any objections
Okay.
to that.
And if I'm reading this correctly, the gate does not open facing towards Sea Island
It's a rolling
Drive?
gate, right.
Gotcha.
Sir, Mr. Hoyos, I'm correct, it's a rolling gate?
It's a rolling gate, so the idea is the gate to roll behind this existing wall, so it doesn't, when they open, it's gonna go behind this wall.
So the existing wall sits right on the property line, correct?
Yes, it's like, that is the end of the property line, so there is no way that we can go like over or.
Right,
or-
you'd be
Exactly.
stepped back 3 feet.
Exactly.
Staff, is the wall legally permitted at the property line?
Chair, we couldn't find the evidence in there. The house, we didn't go into too much detail, but we tried to look for it, and we couldn't find any detail. And we know some of the records in the city were missing, so at the time, really, I can't give an answer to that. We tried, but in the front, there was a master permit to the house, which was built, but maybe it was part of the master permit. But sometimes it's there, so I cannot give an answer.
Okay.
That's why when we wrote, it was like, this is the simplest thing, but it took hours and hours to figure out how to write this. That's why I said, the first one is for the adding a fence and a gate to an existing fence gate/gate. That's why I wrote. And the second one is the existing wall, since they are adding, now that wall might, again, I don't have any proof, might have been okay because, the 30% rule. So it was just set back at a 0 feet with comparison to the other wall. So it might have been okay at the time, but since they're adding, now everything has to get into compliance. So that's why I have to break this down into two. Believe me, this looks simple. It took me three hours. I have written many, but this was my biggest headache.
What years are we talking about when all that, when the construction was going on originally? What year was the construction of that home originally? Approximately. I'm just curious.
1991? Yeah, it would say in the property records, right?
Did we have written records in 1991? I'm being
City's
sarcastic.
records for this part of the city are a mess.
The property appraiser's office was pretty much a mess back then, so.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of the gate being right on the property line, but if we push it back into his property, it makes that space unusable, basically.
Right.
Behind it.
You're creating a hollow for no
Reason.
other function. It doesn't improve visibility, it doesn't improve view. You actually probably have a more contiguous effect by pulling it right up to that wall. It's still many feet off of the actual roadway. I don't think Sea Island Drive gets widened to 4 lanes anytime in the future. So you still have green space between the property line and the asphalt. And it's not a swing out gate, so it's not impeding parking or movement.
It would need to be contained wholly within his property. I mean, that's a given.
What?
That gate would need to be within his property line as a given.
Right, and it is.
Yeah.
It's just 1.5 feet as opposed to 3 feet.
All righty. Are there any other questions for the applicant? I'd like to open the public hearing. I'd like to close the public hearing.
No, I'm not going to.
Anybody from the audience want to speak?
I told him I wanted to speak.
Oh, I'm sorry. Would you like to speak?
Yeah, I hate to say this, but I wrote the fence ordinance.
Name
Name and address for
Oh,
the
so
record.
you're going to expose me to somebody asking follow-up. Fred Stressod, 1004 Southeast 7th Street.
Thank you, Fred.
I actually wrote the fence ordinance. And the intent of allowing people to place a wall or a fence at 6 feet high on the property line was intended to allow a person to have at least 25 feet between the garage door and where the new gate was going to be, okay? And I can't tell you why this wall is 28 feet, because 30% of 75 is only 23 feet. So it encroached. The other thing that the fence ordinance and wall ordinance requires is it requires landscaping in front of it. And if you look at the drawing that's there, there is landscaping that is very lightly shown in front of that wall. This property on Sea Island is the only property on the entire island that doesn't have any landscaping in front of the wall. So if they're going to have to bring it up to snuff, I would think they're going to have to add landscaping, and that landscaping is going to be in the right-of-way, not on the property.
So is that a question for staff? Is it
Question for
current?
staff to follow up on, but not in front
Yeah.
of this board.
Exactly. I
Not an
mean,
issue in front of
whether
this
or not
board.
it is currently it's not code compliant, like currently.
That's
The
an opinion.
landscaping.
Right.
Well, it's for the staff to verify. Alrighty, do you have any other comments? I'd like to close the public hearing. Does the board have any discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
I actually have one
Oh,
question,
sorry.
and I should know the answer to it, I'm sorry. The composition of the rolling gate is
It's aluminum.
opaque? Or,
Aluminum.
or
Oh.
view open?
No, it's gonna be similar to this.
To the
To
lattice,
to
to the
yes,
louvers?
it's gonna be a little bit of sit.
Okay. And to the other gate that's there?
Yes.
Which you will notice, the other gate that's there is set in 3 feet, but is a swing-out gate. So in my mind, as I'm looking at this, that's a 6-foot wide gate. When that gate's open, it's a greater impact into the right-of-way than what we're improving here right now, which is the rolling gate at 1.5 feet in.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Chairman, I've got a motion, if you're ready.
Yes.
I move that we grant the variances requested, both of them, because they are consistent with the provisions contained within the Fort Lauderdale ULDR.
Second.
Second? No. Alrighty, can we get a roll call?
Mr. Maxey?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Elfman?
Yes.
And Chair McGinley?
Yes.
Pass 5-0.
Thank you very much. Motion
Thank
passes.
you very much. Thank you. Appreciate your
All
time.
right. Mr. Chairman, motion to adjourn for the evening?
I think we've got one more.
Oh, we do. We do.
He's dry though, so I don't know.
Alrighty, I'd like to call agenda item number 4, case PLN BOA 230300002. Disclosures, I'd like to start with Chad Maxey.
No disclosures.
None.
Blaze McGinley, none.
I had a brief conversation with applicant's counsel, which amounted to, hey, I'm stuck in the rain, are you making it there?
And none is, I was working on my dental surgery from last week.
There we go.
Bed for a week.
Thank you very much. Applicant, you have 15 minutes.
Good evening, Chair, members of the board. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
I don't think it's on.
How about now? Perfect.
There you go.
Good evening, Chair, members of the board. Andrew Shine with Lockery and Chakas, representing the property owner here. This is for the new Allegro Senior Living Facility at 1290 North Federal Highway. The project was approved in 2018. There were plans to get it under construction a little bit sooner than COVID hit. They did get underway, and they're They have already topped out, so they'll hopefully be opening up soon for the 206 seniors who will be living there. It's going to be an assisted living facility for 206 seniors, and there will also be 25 memory care units. This is the location of the property, 1290 North Federal Highway, just north and south, actually, of the car dealership and repair spot.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're not coming through on the.
Oh,
that's fine. I think he's working on it.
We're not seeing it, Andrew.
There it
is. There we go.
Thank you very
Perfect.
much.
This is the site, 1290 North Federal Highway. We're here tonight for the rooftop screening. This board has seen a couple of these applications come through. They generally happened with circumstances that I would say occurred before 2020. City staff and the zoning department they've gotten a lot stricter regarding the screening requirements. It's the same code provision, but they've gotten a lot stricter, particularly where the screening is. So this is, and if I can zoom in, this is the approved DRC plan. This was approved by the Planning and Zoning Board, went to a 30-day commission request for review. So this plan went through all of the approval bodies for it. And just to highlight kind of what we're talking about here, this is a rooftop unit, those giant units. They're huge, but they're quiet. This was proposed at an elevation of 90 feet 4 inches. And you can see here the parapets, elevation there, they were approved lower than the equipment was in a lot of circumstances. And you can see this down here, it's the same situation, 90 feet 4 inches, 85 feet 8 inches. And this used to be allowed to be approved through the DRC. Now, if this were to go through, all of the parapets would have to be higher. So it doesn't matter if it's the one just immediately screening the equipment or the one across the entire building. The parapets now have to be all higher than that. That said, it was approved like this, and it was constructed like this. This is an excerpt from the approved permit plans. You could see all of these equipments were shown here, and they were, again, approved and constructed like that. Ordinarily, I see a lot of these. I think I've taken 2 to this board. I've done at least over a dozen. Usually when we have this situation, we try to work with city staff to come up with some alternative screening solution that either fits the design of the building and fits the design that the planning department's looking for. 90% of the time we can provide screening that staff is okay with, that the structure is okay with, but this is one of the times where structurally it could not handle it. And we'll get to the letters. They are in the backup, but I'll add them at the end here. This is an aerial. The building's not completely finished yet, but just to show what we're looking at here. All of the green ones, those are those loud air conditioning units. Those are all screened 6 inches above on all sides. Some of these rooftop units are not screened. They're mostly screened adjacent to the unit, but some of them, here, the design of the roof has varying parapet heights. So not all of the parapets are 6 inches higher than the equipment. I will say that these rooftop units they're rated for 55 decibels, which is about the noise of a normal everyday conversation. So they're not incredibly loud. Not that the screening would have really helped the sound, but we did a study to show how far away from the units, how far away from the building you would need to be to see the units from the ground level. This is east and west.
Is it still in Broward County?
It is still in Broward County, yes. But between 400 and 700 feet, depending on where exactly, which direction you're going in. Just to highlight this is about the area where you would be able to see just a peek of the units if you had binoculars. Number 1 from the north, this is where you'd be able to see the units, but you can't even see the building. The building is back there. 2, this is the neighborhood to the east. You can't see it from the back of the houses, but technically could be visible from the street, again, with binoculars, but there are houses and landscaping blocking it. So the folks who live here will not be able to see these units. This is from Federal Highway, where, again, if you had binoculars, you might be able to see a peek at the top of the unit there. And this is from the west, where you can see the cranes, but the building isn't visible. As I said before, we have always, and staff can probably attest to this, that we have always tried to work with staff to come up with alternate screening solutions. They might not be as pretty as a parapet, but we've been able to work with them to at least get a design that the building can structurally support. In this case, the rooftop was designed and permitted, it was built as it was permitted and approved. And the way it was permitted and approved doesn't allow for any additional weight loads on either the parapet or the roof itself. So at this point, the additional screening cannot be provided. The hardship here is that we constructed this as it was approved and permitted. And then the city got a little bit stricter on how this was interpreted over the years. And again, this was approved 5 years ago. So all we're asking is to allow the building to essentially exist as it was approved by DRC, Planning and Zoning Board, City Commission, and as approved multiple times by the building department.
Council, if I could just ask a question. I'm looking at the elevation sheets, part of the permit set from February 2021, and the DRC set, part of the DRC set, and it shows that the parapets are all above the AC units.
Some, not all. Not all. You really have to go to the roof plan to look at all of the detailed sheets, because the parapet heights were varying. The elevations alone don't really even give you the full picture of what the roof looks like. You have to go to the roof plan to show the spot elevations of the equipment and the parapets. And what I showed was the stamped and perforated roof plan. It is the DRC approved roof plan for it.
Thank you. Thanks for that clarification.
Yeah, and I will add to that, though, it's already in the backup, but some of what the letter said, I believe it's the mechanical engineering one, is that there were industry-wide shortages and supply chain issues with getting some of these units. They were mostly as approved, though, the heights. And none of the heights were higher. So the actual equipment we got, none of the heights were higher than what was approved. So they might have been lower. For instance, if the RTU, the rooftop unit, it's at 90 feet 4 inches. Originally in the approval, it might have actually been higher. We got the lower equipment.
Quite possibly not consistent with the 1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph of your application, which states that because of supply chain issues, the footprint of some of the equipment is smaller and therefore maybe slightly higher. Then again, I don't know that that's really germane to what's going on here.
Probably not germane. And there's another diagram that's in the backup. I did not put it in the presentation of the different colored parts. The ones that we're requesting for, I'm not aware that they were thinner and higher. Some of the other ones were, though. Mostly it's the RTUs, the rooftop units that you can see here, which were, again, approved at a higher elevation than the adjacent parapets.
It's a shame we can't find a way to quantify there's liable to be a margin of error relative to the actual installed height. It would be nice to put a parameter on there relative to, it can't be 100 feet 4 inches instead of 90 feet 4 inches.
If I may add, during DRC now, developers are installing parapets that are significantly higher than the highest possible equipment. So staff is taking it a lot more seriously in the approval process.
Interpretation
Yes.
of that code
Yes.
provision.
More aggressive. Does the staff have any more questions for the applicant? Or staff, I'm sorry. Does the board have any more questions for the applicant?
I do. So Andrew, a couple questions. You had mentioned about noise, and you talked about decibels, which that's brand new. You talked about the view from far away, but of course there could be something built next door, and that could create an issue. because this was a car dealer, next door is a car dealer, you never know what's going to be built. But what you're saying, if I got your presentation right, that the only reason the parapets can't be built is because of weight loads on the roof. Is that correct?
Yes, according to the structural engineer.
Thank you.
And I just to, on that topic, yes, buildings can be built to the north and south. To the east and west, they're very limited in height and can't go higher than us, except maybe on the very west side of Federal Highway. To the north and south, they can go up to 150 feet in height. And at an 80-foot tall building, if you go up to 150, you're going to see it whether the parapets are 5 feet higher or not. So it's not going to make much of a difference to neighboring property owners.
Thank you. I'd like to open a public hearing. Not seeing any members. I'd like to close the public hearing.
Chairman, I have a motion if you're ready.
I am.
I move that well, first off, I just want to point out, I just had cataract surgery and I can see so much better now, but I still can't really see the equipment from any view that was furnished here, which is part of the issue with this code. But, we also have a long-running concern about the passage of time and the changing interpretation of code, which happens all the time. Codes are, while the writing may not change, the interpretation is somewhat organic. And we run into passage of time issues because of COVID, because of supply chain, and we run into these difficulties, but they're really one-offs. So this looks, as I read through the provisions of it, constructed largely as was permitted. If we would have permitted it a different way now, we'd be having a different conversation. But with that in mind, I believe it meets the hardship requirements under our code, and I would move for approval of variances.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Elfman?
Yes.
Mr. Maxey?
Yes.
And Chair McGinley?
Yes.
Pass 5-0.
Passes.
Thank you
very
all.
much.
Stay dry, or try to at least.
Yes, thank you.
What else do we have?
That's the end of the cases. I think I'd like to ask for a communication to the commission. Is that the right phrase for that?
You're the chair. You're
Yeah.
asking me for.
Well, no, but there's a phrase for it. I just want to make sure I'm using the right terminology. Yeah, okay. Bear with me. I was hoping that they may be able to clarify for us what their recommendation is for the amount of board members to sit at the dais. There's been a question relative to
In terms of the kids' table? versus the dais?
Exactly. I didn't want to use the phrase kids table, but there has been a request relative to going back to 7. And I was curious to see if the commission had like an official kind of statement on that. We'd take their advice.
If we can chat about that, I for one, it's really nice. This is collegial. We've got great spacing. I'm not far enough past COVID that I want a sardine up here. And if somebody's got to sit at the kids' table, I'm fine being the person sitting at the kids' table for my remaining limited term.
Well, staff,
I don't mind switching chairs off, and I'd rather have space between people
because God only knows where you guys have been all day.
yeah, well, staff came up with a really great idea of where we would alternate the non-chair and vice chair members through the
I've got a
days.
modification of that because it was a great idea. I'd like during meetings if staff could play music,
And then we get up and
and then whenever the music stops, whatever chair you're by, you get to sit in.
That's great. We should start our meetings that way.
I know.
That'd be great.
Alrighty. That being said, do I have a motion? I'm sorry.
I
Mr.
do,
Maxey?
well, do you want to finish that motion, or?
Well, that was it. That was the
okay.
only.
So staff would get that communication
And we're
to
just
the
asking for
commission.
clarification. We're not telling them our opinion.
No, we're looking for guidance from them if they have a directive that they would like to see.
Okay.
And
I do have a further communication suggestion to the commission, which is, because as I look and I note that several of the board members here are going to term out pretty quickly,
Next
ask them,
meeting.
as, next week?
Next meeting.
Ask them to really start looking for replacement board members.
and
Your next meeting, I'm September.
and
I am, by the way, not here next meeting.
that segues into I will help. Go ahead.
Yeah, I apologize. The communication should have a motion and a second that you all are. and
Do I have a
that's
motion
what-
for the communication, the original one?
The original one, I'll move it.
Second?
Second. Well, also,
Do we need to vote on it or no?
Do you want to do it all in favor?
Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
Second one?
And
You had the
On
same one.
appointing, right. I'll make a
Oh, okay.
motion to ask the commission to really start looking at appointing some new board members or moving alternates up to a board member position, because the board's going to be not
I'll second.
to disparage either Howard or my vertical leap abilities, but the board's going to be short.
and as a newbie, I think I want to entertain that. It takes a couple meetings for a new person walking in here to understand the process a little bit. And, I consider myself pretty knowledgeable about things, but it takes a little bit of
Howard moves quick.
prep. I'm not a Howard Nelson, but I try to be.
We got to vote on that one too.
All righty, can, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chair, I do have to make one last point of order. I will help solve the first communication to the commission, but not the second one. I'll actually exacerbate that one. Unfortunately, I'd like to announce that effective immediately, I am resigning from the board.
Oh, what a shame.
It's a good news story for me. I got engaged over the New Year's holiday,
Yeah, we
and
knew, yeah.
I will be moving in with my fiance, but it is out of this jurisdiction. So I wanted to thank everyone. It was a privilege and pleasure.
Wait a second, where are you moving?
Hey, I get to finally say something. So it's a privilege and pleasure to serve with all you, and some of you over the past 5 years. I especially want to thank the other board members here for the opportunity to express my views, and also putting up with my lack of procedural finesse sometimes. But I also want to especially thank the chairs, both Chair Nelson and Chair Blaise McGinley, because you guys have expressed incredible leadership and demonstrated a wealth of knowledge to the other board members' point of how to get through this. And so I just want to thank it. And lastly, to the city staff, I just want to thank you guys, most importantly,
Do we start playing
Mohammed,
music?
Tequila, Jasmine, all you guys. Your team makes our jobs so incredibly easy. And so I just want to say thank you guys. And with that,
Go back to the original question.
with
Where are you moving?
that, I just want to say, I make a motion to adjourn the board.
Thank you very much.
Second.
Thank you, Chad.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.